New York Knicks have made a sneaky signing, and also we got a brutal prospect update due to that signing, and we are going to break it all down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we've been having a lot of talk about some different prospects, as there was one two-way contract left over on the roster. I repeatedly said who I wanted it to be in Dmytro, Skapinstev, and yet the New York Knicks, they went out there, and they did not exactly sign Dmytro. They did something a little bit different. And here's what it was. They went out there and re-signed Jacob Toppin on another two-way contract in a very unsurprising move by the team. Now, I have nothing against Jacob Toppin. He had a very good season in the G League last year. He was fun to watch in the dunk contest. I have nothing but love for Jacob Toppin. I don't want to make it seem like I'm bummed out by this move. But I'm kind of bummed out by this move because that means that the Knicks are officially out of spots for Dmytro Skapinstev, the center who showed up in the Summer League. And that sucks, dude, because he had the best Summer League of anyone who wasn't already under the roster with the Knicks. He arguably had the best Summer League of everyone outside of Tyler Kolek. He arguably had the best Summer League counting Tyler Kolek when it comes to Knicks players, of course. Now, Skapinstev no longer has a two-way contract open for the New York Knicks. So if he wants to continue playing for the organization, he'd have to go back to the G League and not be on a contract with the NBA New York Knicks. He'd just have to be on some contract with the G League team. Obviously, that's not going to make you very hopeful to get back to the NBA. So it is definitely worrisome, especially because just hours after that got announced that Toppin was signing with the Knicks, Skapinstev posted this. He's in Portland, and I'm just bummed, man. Portland? Dude, why? DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Donovan Clingan. They have so many centers. Don't go there. You're not going to get minutes. No one else was interested. I find that hard to believe, that a guy went out there and looked like a great high post center who had a really, really deep offensive bag in the Summer League, and yet no one has interest in him except for a team that has 58 centers on the roster already. Like, that just sucks, dude, especially when you're the Knicks. Like, again, I'm not trying to diss Jacob Toppin or anything. I like Jacob Toppin. He had a phenomenal season in the NBA G League. We'll take a look at his stats in a minute. But the Knicks don't need Jacob Toppin. They don't need another forward wing. They just don't. They don't. Like, you look at this team, they have Julius. They have Mikal. They have OG. They have Josh Hart. They have a lot of forwards. They have Keita Bates-Diop as a third stringer. Jacob Toppin is not going to get minutes on this Knicks team. He just doesn't have a pathway to it with the amount of people who fit his position for a small forward, power forward that's in front of him. It's the unfortunate truth. And again, I don't want this to sound like I'm hating on Jacob Toppin. Like, let's take a look at his stats right now, because he actually had a phenomenal year in the G League last year. He put up 15 points with 7 rebounds. That's very good G League numbers. He showed to be one of the most valuable players on the Knicks G League team. It's why he started all but one game with them. It's why he would actually get some NBA minutes at points. Like, it's not like Jacob Toppin's a bad player. He's an actively good player, and it makes sense to have him on a two-way contract. But Dmytro Skapinstev is of a position that the Knicks needed. They needed to go out there and get another center, find someone who could potentially replace what Isaiah Hartenstein did, and instead they don't do that. And now it's official. The Knicks are going to be rolling with Mitchell Robinson, Precious Achiuwa, and Jericho Sims as their three centers. It will be in that order from starter to third string, unless Sims shows out in training camp down in North Carolina, it doesn't matter. It's in one of the Carolinas. No one cares. They're the same state. But, like, when you look at the Knicks, what they need more than anything is another center. They definitely didn't need another forward. So it's just kind of a bummer. I mean, obviously Ariel Hukporti is already on a two-way contract, and that makes you think, all right, it is tough to give two-ways to guys who really can only play the 5, especially when you drafted Hukporti. Like, yeah, he was the last pick in the draft, but you still drafted him. The Knicks clearly wanted him. He was a guy who was supposed to go in the first round before he blew out his Achilles. Hopefully he can come back from that because he's a rim runner, so it is kind of scary when that happens to a guy like that who's real big, who's got some weight on him, who's really there to be a high flyer, good rebounder, shot blocker type player. Tearing your Achilles is definitely very scary. Hopefully it works out. Obviously, I liked the Hukporti pick, so I'm pretty happy that the Knicks will have him. I think it made sense to put him on a two-way contract. I think it made sense to put Kevin McCullough Jr. on a two-way contract, being that he was the 55th overall pick. They're taking their late 50s guys and like the guys at the end of the draft, and they're putting them on two ways, and that makes total sense. It really is the right move, especially because you drafted two other rookies separately. Like, Pacome has to be on the roster. He was picked in the first round, and he's not a draft and stash player. And then Tyler Kolek is way too good to be anything other than on the Knicks roster. So it gets to a point where you're like, all right, we have to throw these two on two ways. And then when you have a guard and a center on a two-way contract, it makes so much sense to go out there and just put a forward on it. It does make sense, but the Knicks are such a forward-heavy team and a team that has a big question mark at the backup center position where it's not just a set thing where you're like, all right, well, let's go out there and get a forward because we have a guard and a center on a two-way. No, that doesn't make sense when you already have a million forwards anyway. I mean, Chuma Okeke is somewhere within the system. He could get that final roster spot if Ryan Arcidiacono doesn't get it. It's something that we're looking at, and it's like, okay, the Knicks really did not need to bring back Jacob Toppin. It's just more the fact that they like the Toppin family, obviously, and Jacob did play very well in the G League, so he gave the Knicks a good reason to bring him back over Dmytro. It just felt like Dmytro never even had a shot to get this done. Like, that's what really irks me, is it felt like they never were giving Dmytro a chance. And last year, he also had a phenomenal season in the G League, putting up around 13 points per game, pulling down a good amount of rebounds, shooting well from the field. He clearly improved a lot from his first season in Westchester. And what's crazy is he looked a lot better than his last season in Westchester in the 23-24 season. It looked like he improved again, and the New York Knicks seemed to not care at all, which is definitely a bummer when you consider that they do have that question mark at the center position. It makes you wonder where they're going to go from here, because obviously this is not the full season rollout of just Mitch and Precious and Jericho and Ariel. I think someone else is going to come in, probably getting traded for Precious Achiuwa. Now, I am actually going to do a video on that soon, because Ian Begley did speak on that, so that'll either come out today or tomorrow morning, something like that, depending on scheduling and how this video is doing, honestly. But when you look at the Knicks, they could have used Dmytro. He gives him a lot more range at the center position because Jericho is very similar to Mitchell Robinson. Precious is not really a center, but he could play it. He could be an undersized five. Similar vibe to Bam Adebayo in that sense, where it's like, you know what, he makes it work. Like, he could handle it. He's strong. He's physical. He's not afraid of anyone. Like, it does make some sense. I think Precious will be fine in the short term. And then Ariel Hukporti is also very similar to Mitch and Jericho. So it would have been cool to get some contrast in there, but maybe we'll wait till the deadline and see something then. And maybe if the Knicks give away a player or something also, if they're down two guys or something, they'll relook at Skapinstev. It might be wishful thinking. It's crazy how much we've all fallen in love with a guy who was really just a G League player for the Knicks and then also a Summer League player. But he played so well, it made us all become a fan of him, especially I think when we were all missing Hartenstein, when knowing he's gone and all that. I think it just made us really like Skap even more because he did fit that position for like a Hartenstein replacement. So I think it's all kind of like, it's almost like retwisting a knife that's like finally healed. It's like opening that wound back up for a second with Hartenstein. But it is what it is. We'll see Hartenstein on January 10th in MSG, and we will see Dmytro Skapinstev on some NBA team because the man definitely deserves it. But guys, what do you guys think? Do you like the Jacob Toppin over Dmytro move? Do you hate it? Are you indifferent because it's just a two-way contract and we know they're not actually going to get minutes anyway? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that good stuff. Have a great day, guys, and go Knicks.